Hello and welcome back to Totally Abstracted. My name is Michelle and I'm an abstract landscape artist. Today I want to talk about what happens when you start painting for a particular outcome, because that's happened to me recently and it's not been great. So I started 2 paintings last week, thinking that these could be part of a collection I sell. But almost immediately something shifted when I was painting. Nothing about my tools had changed. It was the same palette knife, same catalyst wedge, same process. But the way I was painting felt completely different. My marks got tighter. I hesitated more. I second-guessed things I would normally not even think about. Little decisions that I usually make instinctively, where to drag the palette knife or whether to let something go or push into it more. Everything seemed to matter now in a different way, like there were stakes attached to them. And the strange thing was, if you looked at the painting from the outside, it probably looked like I was painting in the same way, but it didn't feel the same at all. I think there's a moment that happens when you stop painting with the work and you start painting for something else, for an outcome, for it to be good, for it to sell, or for it to be part of something bigger, like a collection or an exhibition. And that shift changes everything, because there's a difference between having direction and feeling pressure. Direction is just a sense of where something might go, like roughly knowing which way you're walking, but not being attached to every single step. You just know where you're headed. But pressure feels heavier. It's when something needs to work, needs to be something. And that weight, even when it's self-imposed, I think changes how you hold your body and how you hold your tools. And I could feel that difference really clearly. When I'm painting freely, I'm responding to what's happening. A mark goes down, I react to it. Something doesn't work, I move through it. There's a kind of back and forth, a conversation between me and the surface. But in these 2 paintings, I wasn't really responding anymore. I was trying to hold on to what was working, so anything I liked, and trying not to mess that up. But the moment you start managing a painting like that, instead of responding to it, I think the energy starts to drain out. And that's where it started to tighten. And I do think this is why paintings lose their energy. Not because we suddenly don't know what we're doing and we're putting things down in the wrong places, but because we stop taking the kinds of risks that created the energy in the first place. We start preserving instead of discovering. And you can feel that in some work. It becomes careful, a bit more controlled. Now, there's a difference between a painting that has stillness in it, a genuine quietness and calm that you choose, and a painting that's been held back. And what's interesting is that for me, this was all coming at the same time as I was also painting bigger as well, which is something I talked about in my last episode. So everything already felt a bit unfamiliar. The scale was changing my movement and my decisions and the way my body was involved. And then on top of that, I'd added this sort of mental layer of this matters more. And I think it was that combination that made it feel like such a battle. And I also noticed that I couldn't think my way back from it. I couldn't stand there and reason myself into becoming more free. It just doesn't work like that. The more you analyse it, the more self-conscious you become. So what I discovered was you have to act your way back. And for me, that looked like doing something I wouldn't normally do in that moment. Making a mark that felt way too bold. Or letting an area go, just leaving it, that I would usually try to resolve. I even started another completely different piece, just to break the sense that the ones I was working on had to work. When you've got this really, what feels like an important painting in front of you, it can feel like everything is riding on it. So I put it away and did some work on something else, something lower stakes. So I think acting in this way is less about fixing the painting and more really about shifting your relationship to it, making something that's very deliberately messy for a bit, and prove to yourself, look, this isn't precious. Or physically moving away from it, putting it to one side, starting something else. Just giving yourself that distance. And then the pressure starts to ease. Selling our work isn't a problem. Or isn't the problem, nor is wanting to create a collection. There's nothing wrong with caring about where your work goes and hoping it resonates with someone enough that they want to live with it. That's wonderful. But when it enters your thinking when you're painting, that's the problem. If it's there at the start, it can take over the process. Because you haven't actually made the painting yet. You're still in the place where everything is possible, but you're already imagining it finished, framed on a wall somewhere. And that means you're already weighing it against some invisible standard or judgment. But I think the paintings people respond to the most are usually the ones where they were created in that spirit of exploration and discovery. They carry that energy. You can see it in the surface. There's something alive in it. And I think people feel that even if they can't name it. They respond to that aliveness, to the feeling that someone was genuinely present with the work, rather than just executing a plan. I haven't got all the answers here. I'm still figuring this out, to be honest. Those paintings, they did feel like a bit of a battle. And there were moments where I genuinely wasn't sure if they were going to work. But I can also see what they show in me. That there's a version of me that paints quite freely, and a version that sometimes tries too hard to get it right. And they both show up. I don't think I can eliminate the second one, but I think I can notice when that shift happens. Maybe catch it earlier, before it's had a chance to take hold, and then find my way back. So if you've ever had that moment where everything suddenly feels tighter, like you're not quite painting the way you usually do, it might not be anything to do with your ability. It might not mean that something has gone wrong. It might just be that shift. Maybe you've moved from painting with the work to painting for an outcome. And sometimes the way back from that is just one slightly braver mark. A mark that proves to you that you're still willing to take a risk with this piece. And that's often enough to start moving again. If this is something you're working through as well, I share more of these kinds of thoughts and experiments inside my membership. It's a space where we talk honestly about the process, not just finished work, and there's a link in the show notes. But for now, just notice it next time you're painting, because I think you can see it. And I think once you see it, you can start to move through it. That's what I'm holding on to anyway. Thank you for listening. Keep experimenting, keep exploring, and as always, keep things totally abstracted.